Hello, Vincent. This is Dimitris calling from Chicago and Metalkaoz. How are you?
Very good. Hope you're doing well too.
I'm doing okay. Have you completely recovered from your recent surgery?
I probably have. I mean, I feel great right now. I Doctors say I still need about another week and a half before I can be like back to 100%.
Okay.
But yeah, I had a appendicitis, and they had to remove my appendix, and its process was like did pretty good. It's just that getting back to the routine and not lifting too much and
Hmm.
all that shit. So
Yeah, take care of yourself, man. I mean, it goes without saying.
absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about music. I prefer that.
Yes.
So, what inspired you to revisit and re-release Right of the Black? Rights of the Black. This.
Well, it was kind of wild. My my friend Brian Kenyon, who does Kenyon Records,
Hmm.
he contacted me. We've been best friends for many years, and um, one thing he was always telling me, he goes, "Man, I'd really like Rites of the Black Mass to be the way you envisioned it," because there was a lot of bad things on the original. For one, the vinyl that came out in Europe didn't have the intros on it.
Mm.
The United States version looked like a complete piece of shit. The layout, they didn't include anything in it. They didn't even put our logo. It was just like really
Mm.
ridiculous. So he said, that being a big album for him, one of his favorites, he asked me if I would be interested in putting it out again. Now I told him, this album's been re-released several times throughout the world. It's been bootlegged
Yeah.
throughout the world. Uh, I said, I hate for you to do something, invest a bunch of money, and you're going to sit on a lot of albums because of it. And he goes, well, what I want to do is, he goes, I want you to tell me how you envisioned it to come out originally. He goes, what did they fuck up on and what would you fix and do differently? And I said, well, there's definitely some stuff on there I would do differently.
Here's my list.
Yes. And the great thing was with this working uh, together, he said, what do you think about getting the old guys that were in the band back there to all collaborate, and we'll put everything together as you guys basically get back together and work on what you wanted to do, and talk about the old days and stuff like that. And I thought that was amazing because I'm still friends with Pete Slate and Jim Strauss, who played on that album. So we all just got into a group chat and started communicating, and things just started to flow. And uh, one thing I always wanted to do is Rights was re-released, remastered on Vic Records. Now Vic did a good job, but the remastering, I didn't think it was that much of a difference,
Mm.
and I thought it could have been done better. And Brian was like, "Well, why don't you just go back in the studio and remaster it?" And he told me, he's like, "What about make putting the rights demo as a bonus?" And I was, yeah, that'd be, because Full Moon Productions is the only one that actually put the songs from rights on a CD, and they actually got it from a tape that
Oh.
I had of a demo. So he goes, just look through all your stuff and see what we can find. And lo and behold, I found the DAT tape from the original studio that we did it.
Oh, really?
Yes. And uh, I'm in another band, the Vincent Crowley band,
Correct.
and we've done the last two Vincent Crowley albums at Audio Lab Studios here in Columbus, Ohio. And Joe Veers, he's just a great guy to work with. He knows what we need, what we want. So I called him up and said, "Hey Joe, do you have a DAT machine?" And he's like laughing and goes, no, he goes, he goes, why? And I told him, and he goes, I'll fucking get one. He goes, yeah, we'll fucking do this. And he did just that and took it to the studio, told him what I was looking for. And man, he just gave me exactly what I fucking wanted. And actually, the album sounds better with the remastering, but the fucking demo, goddamn, it fucking sounds like an album almost, just because of how he just brought it to life. And with Brian and Kenyon Records just doing the lyrics and doing the special vinyl, doing the picture discs, I mean, this is almost like doing a new album
Right.
because we didn't get this much of a push originally, and within a few days of the pre-orders, he goes, "You remember when you said you're worried about me sitting on a bunch of albums?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, you sold out the picture disc. You sold out and I was like blown away. And the response from fans has been amazing. And it really made me go back because, shit, it's almost been, 40 years of playing music. Rites was done in 92. I
Mhm.
always think, when you're a musician, everything you do new is like the main thing you're thinking about. You don't think about the old stuff. And I realized how important that album was to this band. And we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for that album. And I'm just so glad, especially the response from the fans, that Kenyon Records, they put out good quality. They did not spare any expense, posters, it, I'm just very grateful for what Brian did for us. And I think a lot of the fans are too.
So you said a lot, there are a lot of things to unpack. Um, so I have to ask this, although I know it's an anathema. Did you guys consider to re-record the entire album?
That's been talked about many times, and it's just one of those things. I think if I did that, people would be pissed. That's kind of like Exodus did Bonded by Blood. I don't
Mm.
know how it would be. Um, One thing though, I'm not a, I'm not against ever maybe doing a live recording of it. That's always a possibility maybe in the future. But yeah, as a recording, that was like such a special album. And I guess to go back into the difference too, if you know the album that has intros
Mhm.
between every song, it's kind of divided with fans. Some people love it, some people like just get to the fucking music. And um it didn't flow as good as it should have. So what Joe did is he took the intros and made them seamlessly flow into each other, where it wasn't like intro, wait, song, intro, wait, song. Everything kind of blends together really well, and it makes the experience so much better. And yeah, I'm just blown away by the whole release here.
And I like that you mentioned the intro. So when you guys were working on this album back in the 90s, what was the concept? What did you want to achieve? Is it an actual black mass that has the intros and the music being part of this black mass?
Well, when you come out the gate, the main thing when I started Acheron, I wanted to do something totally authentic. It was the real deal. We were not gimmicks. We were doing something legit. So, what better thing to do is actually take the Black Mass from beginning to end, like you're going through the whole complete ritual,
Mhm.
and put it to music. And, back then I was working with Peter Gilmore, who was a part of the Church of Satan. And that's how I kind of originally got into the Church of Satan. And we found a satanic artist that did the cover, Rex Church. And when we began the project, he talked. Peter talked to Anton LaVey,
Mhm.
and Anton LaVey thought it was a great thing. Gave us his unholy blessings to do it, and I think that was one of the really unique things about it. Unfortunately, to this day, I think it's just starting to get out more that that was the very first black mass set to music. I mean, that you got bands talking about Satanism or themes like that. Um, I always laugh when they give like top 10 satanic bands, and my friends are always like, I don't know why you're not on it. And it's a popularity thing, but when it comes down to it, we're the first to fucking have done what we did.
Well, the 90s, especially in Europe, the Scandinavian metal scene was dominating the scene. So when people think of that era, they think of that scene. So I'm not sure how the US back then was involved in that scene because I was in Europe back then.
It was still, the I would say the whole Scandinavian black metal, it started the 90s, but I don't think it got as popular as it did till probably 93,
Yeah,
and um and when we came out of the gate, a lot of those Norwegian bands, they didn't like the whole Anton LaVey form of Satanism, and they were very against it. So I remember when Kerrang did that whole special of the whole black metal circle, they mentioned us of one of the bands that the circle hated because we were into Levian type Satanism and stuff. So uh, it was a weird time. We were doing our own thing, and we weren't doing something that was very popular at the time, especially with
oh,
the Norwegian
oh yeah.
thing. But you had people like King Diamond that were on the same kind of path as us, and there was still a lot of people, especially in the U.S., that really supported what we were doing.
And let alone how that period of time was with people reacting to all this stuff and how they reacted on this. The famous Satanic Panic and how all this situation unfolded. And again, even in Europe, we had something. In Greece, in particular, we had something like that with people and TV shows talking everything about metal bands, and talking about cover artworks. They were talking the number of the beast. Come on, this is not
Right, right. Well, the Satanic Panic, it was from, if you really go down to it, it's kind of started in the 70s when they were doing the backward
right,
maskings
right.
of all those bands. 80s, it really just took off where you'd see all these talk shows talking about these
Mm-hmm.
kids, the metal music. And then the 90s, it started to get a little less, but the beginning of the 90s was still it was pretty big because we had issues with a lot of Christian groups and religious
Right.
groups. We've had protests at our shows. We had actually at our practice place, I had a wall with death threats from Christians. Like we would get them every week, and we would just post them on the fucking wall just to fucking inspire us to be worse than we were doing.
Oh
Just
man.
and it's funny because nowadays you don't have to really deal with that shit, but it was kind of fun back then. We like to piss these people off because they were such idiots, and you could prove them wrong all the time with all the fake propaganda they put out. And to say metal music will make somebody murder somebody or do this and that, it's so ridiculous.
Well, humans like to have excuses, right, for the
Absolutely.
bad things we do, and yeah. Well, let's not get to that. But
Right.
however, it amazes me getting death threats from deeply religious people who supposed to be preaching about love. I don't get that, man. It escapes me. I don't know. It's bizarre.
You got mentally you have mentally challenged people in like anything. It's just, you got people that actually kind of have a belief, and then you got the extremists. And you know, you have that in Satanism too. You have people that are fucked up too. And it just goes with human nature. There's fucked up ones out there.
If we could stay on our lane, deal with our beliefs and deal with our lives without messing up with people, that will be nice. That will be great.
I agree with you 100%.
Um, you mentioned, Peter, about the lyrics. So I have to ask about Enochian key.
Mm-hmm.
So how much, because this is not a well-defined language, let alone the pronunciation, how much work did that entail to write those lyrics?
I didn't write them. It was, taken from the Enochian key that is used in the Satanic Mass. And, John Dee, he kind of was a seer back in the day, a magician that, kind of incorporated that into existence. And yeah, it was a challenge, especially, pronunciations
Yeah.
and trying to make it fit and
Mm.
stuff. And that's one song I cannot sing live. There's absolutely no way to sing that live. It's just way too hard. But we've done it, and without lyrics. But yeah, it was a challenging thing to do for sure.
Well, even if you pronounce something the wrong way, nobody will understand, man. So
Right, right.
you should be good. Um, so what, when you guys came together to work on this reissue, what memories did this process bring into surface? Because I don't know, even though, as you said, you are still in contact with this gentleman, starting to discuss about that album and that era of the band has to be, you know, going down the memory lane.
Well, Pete Slate, he's in a band called Druid Lord now,
Mm-hmm.
and Jim Strauss, he's in the band Sathanas. So everybody has gone, and I've continued Acheron and other stuff. So going back to it, it's not like when we do talk, we talk about like that all the time. So the big thing was that a lot of people don't know is Pete and Jim never met during that whole time
Oh,
because
really?
yes, because what happened was the label Turbo Music, who put it out, they wanted to put us in the Moore sound with Scott Burns.
Mm-hmm.
But you have limited finances from a smaller label. So they wanted to kind of save some money by using the drum tracks and the guitar tracks I recorded, or the rhythm guitar tracks, and then re-record everything else with Scott. So Jim was still in Pittsburgh and Pete was in Florida with me. So when that whole process happened, Jim wasn't involved at all. He just knew I contacted him by using the drum tracks and he was cool with it. And so it was like years later till they actually bumped into each other and met. So it's
Oh,
like doing an album, it's been out, gets a little bit of response, and you're like, don't. So having everybody kind of sit together and talk about stuff, it was really cool. And then, Jim would tell his experience about recording his part, and we'd tell about ours. And it was really cool because that was a really crazy album to record for sure.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
In
man.
fact, you talking about the Enochian key, a cool story was when we did the demo, I was recording my vocals and we went through it once and the engineer goes back and nothing recorded. And we were like, oh shit. So we kept doing it over and over again. And he was trying to figure out stuff. And it was like the eighth try. I did it. And he goes, just say stupid shit just to see, whatever. And I started just saying shit to the people in the studio and it taped. And we're like, okay, we're back on track. Then we do it again. It
Nothing?
doesn't record. The ninth official time, which is the satanic number, we did it. It fucking recorded. And it's, to this day, people are like, wow, it's like people that were in the studio, because there was a decent amount of people were like, that's some fucking creepy ass shit.
Well, now I will have tried the 10th time to see
Right,
what will
right.
have happened. Damn. Well, this language was not supposed to be recorded, right?
It's more of a person. I mean, it has been in rituals, but it's definitely a more personal thing. And sometimes when you open doors you're not supposed to, things happen. And there's definitely been some crazy shit in this history of this band with things you kind of tap into and things.
Have you considered writing the story of the band and document these crazy stories?
Yeah, actually, I was in the process of writing something several years ago,
Hmm.
and after I got the band back together, I really started to think about it more and kind of go in the whole history of everything I've done from the beginning to this point. And that's definitely in the works. I've talked to a couple people to help work with me on that because there is so many crazy fucking stories and so many weird things that have happened throughout the years and people you meet and get in contact with and experiences. So yeah, that's definitely a project I'll do and be doing in the future.
Yeah, and it's part of history. And going back to what I asked you, whether you guys consider to re-record the album, we sometimes we forget. I mean, us, we, the older people, that we have at least two younger generations, and they have not been exposed in this music at all, let alone live. So re-releasing an album, writing a book about it, it really helps the younger generation, especially when their listening habits have changed so much from what we used to. Like all these things on Spotify, on the streaming services, it's totally different from what we used to. So yeah, keep at it, and who knows, maybe we can see another new album from the band.
Yeah, 2025, I have a YouTube channel, the Vincent Crowley channel, and I posted usually music on there. And when I was doing the Vincent Crowley band, I was still getting a lot of letters asking about Acheron and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And my wife told me, she's like, why don't you go on your YouTube channel and answer these people's questions and do like Q&As? And you know, I'm the old school guy. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do on, talk in front of a camera? And I, I gave it a chance and I did a bunch of Q&As and they were successful. And it really got me in touch with a lot of the fans and seeing how much Acheron meant to a lot of people. I kind of went back and like, you usually don't listen to your own music. And I was like, let me see what I think about this. And it just got me back in the mood to want to do it again. And so I scheduled limited amount of shows for 2025. Uh,
Right.
we did them, and unfortunately, I canceled the ones we were getting ready to do. But everything we've done thus far has been really successful. The response has been great. And during that time, I picked up that guitar and bass and started fucking around, and songs start coming out. And I knew it was going to be another Acheron album on the way, and I did talk to a few labels, and we do have a record deal, and we will be recording a new Acheron album next year.
Can you reveal the record label or not yet?
Ain't yet, but people won't be surprised when they find out who it is. It's somebody that's going to do the band justice and is not going to censor anything we do. So we won't have any problems with the corporate political music politics.
Well, I'd like to think that we don't have this crap anymore in 2025.
We still do. It's
Really?
getting less, but it's just like a room. If you have 100 people and 3 people are still yelling like little babies, you're still going to hear it. And
Right.
there's still those little babies out there that whine and complain and trying to get attention. And I think a lot of people now are like putting their hands up to their heads and hold them back, like, get the fuck out of here. We don't care. And I'm hoping none of this canceling shows and all this other bullshit and making fake accusations of bands and trying to get them canceled. I hope that's over with soon because it's been really ridiculous for the last fucking like really the last decade. It's been kind of shitty.
Oh yeah, and the touring and how much has become expensive. We have difficulties getting bands from Europe. It's yeah, it's bizarre. However, Vincent Crowley, the band, is still active too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So for Acheron, will the lineup will be the same as it was for the last album? Oh,
Art Taylor, the guitar player, he's back from the last album.
okay.
Uh, Eric Stewart, who's actually the guitarist in Acheron too, he's in the band. And the last drummer we had in Acheron before we broke up, Cody Johns, he's back in the band. And I'm really looking forward to recording with him. He's a younger guy and he has the energy and he's an Acheron fan and he brings a lot to the table. And cool thing about it is like, some people will think, we got the same 2 guitarists in both bands, but everything's going to be approached differently in both bands. The Vincent Crowley band's more almost like King Diamond or solos, very melodic and harmonies and stuff. Where I told these guys in Acheron, just be pissed and fucking just let out the beast. So it'll be that nice contrast between the 2 bands.
Yeah, I'm surprised that people think that being in two bands means that they will sound the same. It doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah.
You released a video for The Art Lord. How much were you involved in the making of that?
I just told the record label and the artist who was doing it. I said, these songs are ritualistic. This is what the song's about. Uh, Give the listener something visually that puts them in that state, and the video maker, did that. And I'm pretty pleased he came out with something that you can kind of sit back and just kind of zone out and not think too much, just kind of get taken away.
And this is an important question now. Will the reissue of Rites of the Black Mass be reissued? What I'm trying to say, will there be a second pressing? Because it's currently sold out on the vinyl.
There definitely will be it will be a total different variant of the first one. The first batch is going to be totally unique. Whoever got it is they're going to have that unique one. But since it was a success, and there's a lot of people, especially people in Europe, because since it's a U.S. label,
Mm-hmm.
to get that stuff, it was costly to send over there.
Yes.
So there's work to be done to get that over to Europe too. So yeah, there's definitely going to be another batch of different versions of it.
So just to understand, you won't be cutting vinyl on in Europe, right? You will be still shipping stuff from the US.
I don't know. It's a record.
Okay.
I know Kenyon Records is talking to someone in Europe right now
Mm-hmm.
for distribution. I I'm not sure of all the logistics about it right now, but that is actually they're trying to get the product over there to be shipped from over there.
Yeah.
So um crossing our fingers that that will work out. But because there's been still a lot of people who still ordered it, even though the prices are the mail system is so ridiculous these days. But yeah, they're trying to definitely get it out there to Europe.
And honestly, it's not only the pricing. Shipping has become such a bore. I mean, you have huge delays. You get damaged goods from when traveling above the pond. So, yeah, I cannot imagine getting a vinyl from abroad being damaged. It's a nightmare, man.
Right, right. And like I said, everything they're putting out is going to be quality. It's not going to be. It's not like we sold all this first batch and the next batch is going to be a bunch of cheap bullshit. You know,
Oh,
it's
no, I was not talking about.
no.
Uh,
I'm just saying some labels do that. You know what I mean? They'll put something real nice out and then something half that quality comes out. Uh, Kenyon Records is trying to maintain that everything that's going to come out is going to be like good quality and stuff. And even though it's a little different than the original, you'll still get a good product.
yeah, still, I was not referring to the making of the vinyl. I was thinking about the how sometimes things are being dealt in by USPS, for example. Anyhow,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so aside from Maryland Death Fest next year, what else are you working on as far as playing live?
Uh, we're looking to be in the studio to record the new album, hopefully in June. Right now, we just have the Maryland Death Fest. Um, we have the Dead by Dog too, Justin Horville's fest in Ohio. It's going to be in Cleveland. We're supposed to play the Destroying Texas Fest, I believe, in July. All this stuff is around the same time, and
Mm-hmm.
then we're talking to a festival in Spain about maybe doing something in August, but that's not totally confirmed yet.
Okay.
So we're trying not to concentrate on shows. We're just going to do a limited amount next year, get the album done, and then start doing the booking.
And you said recording in June. So does that mean that writing the music will has has already started? Or
Yeah.
oh,
Oh yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I have about close to six complete songs written, and we only have one of them as the band down. And as soon as I get back to practice, which should be in a couple weeks, we're going to start working on all that new material, and those guys will start adding their stuff to the songs, and the whole process will begin. And have until June because I didn't want to rush this album.
Yeah.
We don't have a deadline. That's just kind of like a goal we have to get this done. But things are flowing really good. And what's really cool is when I look for stuff for this rights release, I found half a dozen cassette tapes of me just playing guitar riffs from the 90s and like stuff I never used. So when I'm writing, I'm listening to stuff that might be able to work with stuff, and it's some of the stuff's like mixing really well, and it's giving it that old vibe too. And it's been real fun to write for sure.
Man, how is it revisiting quote unquote yourself
Oh,
with so many
it's
years in between?
I have a recording somewhere where I'm playing this riff and I do something wrong, and I'm like, fuck. Just like it's just funny to listen to yourself, do this shit. And and some of this stuff, because each album kind of has its own personality, and you have to kind of take what will work for the album, which you might have some good riffs to use, but it's not for that album.
Right.
And then you kind of forget about it because you've already recorded three other cassettes worth of crap, and then you go back and you're like, oh wow, and just going back on a cassette player and playing it's funny because how often do we do that? It's
And kind of a cliche question. How do you get to the mindset back to Acheron and write music that fits the band's history?
thing about Acheron, it's always I really when I broke up Acheron, it was at the point where I really enjoyed what we did, but I felt like it came down to okay, let's move on, do something else. And I really wanted to do the Vincent Crowley type stuff, and that's been always kind of boiling. So after recording 2 albums, I you get that buzz, and
Mm.
all those things that used to anger you, it's been boiling up for several years. So it's even better now because things I wanted to say kind of like, okay, now I can just unleash it. And with the Vincent Crowley band, it's more atmospheric, it's more kind of almost theatrical and that kind of element. Acheron's like my therapy. It's my space to just unleash hell. And it just flows like it's always has. So I don't know, it just feels natural.
Yeah.
And to kind of take a kind of chapter out of King Diamond's book, why not do 2 bands? He's doing it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, and nowadays there are a lot. It's easier to get pissed off. I feel. Just go online, and 10 minutes later, you are pissed off out of your mind.
Yeah, and not to mention it's so funny because in the early days it was more focused on just Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like now you can just totally appreciate hating that whole slew of religions that are just, you know, Christianity, Islam, Judaism. It's like they're all garbage, and they're definitely all going to be included with the new stuff.
However, I will say this, and it may sound a little bit bizarre, but bear with me for a while. Sometimes religions are helpful because sometimes they control people from doing really bad stuff. That's
And
in
I,
some
I
degree.
see I see what you're saying, but I think common sense should do that.
What is easier,
Right,
right? What is
right.
easier? Common sense is very difficult. Respecting one another is very difficult. Being
Yeah,
told to is
yeah,
easier,
yeah. And
right?
that, and a lot of things with like the religious factor. You know, I don't really care what someone believes. If someone comes to me respectfully, we
Mm-hmm.
can talk. We can not talk, which is good too. As long as it doesn't get forced on me, I don't have a problem with anybody's religious
Yes.
viewpoint or non-religious viewpoint. My whole attack is on the actual religion. You know what I mean? I'm not going after various people or whatever. If anything, I'm only going after the extremists that are forcing the shit
Right.
down your throat.
Right.
It's not the guy that, I'm a Christian and that's my beliefs and I keep it to myself. Hey, that guy I have no problem with. The guy tells me I'm going to hell and I should be burned at the stake. That's the guy I have a fucking problem with.
Or you have to pay this amount of money to get
Hey, to heaven.
to
Yes.
be saved.
Yeah.
That's uh, so. Last question is what is the latest from Vincent Crowley, the band now? Is it put on hold?
Yeah, it's been kind of put on hold. We One big thing about when you start a new band is you're starting fresh. And even though I've been in the scene a long time, it's a new band. So it's not like we're going to get booked at everything Acheron used to get booked at.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not getting as much push as Acheron gets. So it's been a struggle just to get shows and promotion and stuff. So, but we rehearse like so much. We're a really tight band, and we rehearse everything we play. Have recorded. So we just gave ourselves a little space. I'm doing the Acheron thing, especially since a couple of the guys are in the other band too. We're kind of focusing more on Acheron now, and then we're going to sneak in a Vincent Crowley practice here and there just to kind of keep things fresh. And since we're doing Acheron again, and I do pretty much majority of the songwriting, the other guitar players are going to more take over the majority of the songwriting, as in like the music on the Vincent Crowley stuff, and I'll just focus on the vocals and the lyrics, and that'll also help give that difference between the bands too. So again, it's like sometimes you need to step back a little bit let it give it some room, and then bring the freshness back to things
Yeah,
again. And I'm looking forward to doing both things. It's been great. I mean, after all these years, to be able to, you know, keep doing albums and still having people following us, and I'm very appreciative of all the fans because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
absolutely. And you can put both bands in the same touring billing, right? That will be easy. I'm joking.
I we actually did a couple shows where we did both, and that was pretty brutal on my throat.
Of
It was
course.
vocally you could tell that Acheron. We did one where Vincent Crowley opened for the Acheron, and the power was like not as forceful on the Acheron one. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this again.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Vincent, thank you for your time. Hopefully, we'll see Acheron here in Chicago at some point,
absolutely,
most probably with
absolutely.
a new album. And
Yes.
stay healthy. Please focus on your recovery and go back to the studio whenever you are ready, man.
So I appreciate the support you have me on, brother.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.